So I first start out by making tamagoyaki. I mix 3 eggs with some Kewpie mayo as well as some salt and pepper. And usually tamagoyaki is made by rolling the egg in the pan. And usually a square pan would be used, but I only have a round pan, so I had to make do. And now I'm cooking up some ham. This is chicken ham. And this is turkey ham. So I'm slicing up the ham into smaller pieces. And I'm slicing up some cheese to be about the same size as the sliced ham that I did just now. So with the cheese and the ham, I'm rolling it up together. And then I'm securing it with toothpicks. So the effect is supposed to look like rolled up flowers when I put it into the bento later. So now I'm dicing up some potatoes for korokke or croquettes. And diced up potatoes are easier to boil. And I'm mixing up some chicken meat with some ginger paste and a little bit of salt and pepper, and with just a little bit of soy sauce. So we also need onion for our korokke, so I'm chopping up some onions into smaller pieces. And with just a little bit of oil, I fry the onions first. So when cooking your onion, make sure your heat is high enough, because if the heat is high enough, then the onions will separate. But because mine wasn't high enough, so I had to manually separate my onions, as you can see here. So now I'm adding the chicken meat into the onion. I didn't want to waste, so I had to scrape it all. Yes, even the ones on a spoon. You don't have to really cook it all the way through, because you'll be frying it later anyway. And now I'm adding it some dashi sauce to give it a little bit of flavor. And as you can see here, I wasn't really trying to cook it all the way through because I'll be frying it anyway. So now I'm just mashing up the potatoes that I boiled earlier. I'm adding the chicken and the onions to the mashed potatoes. And now you just have to mix it all together. So to make korokke, you start out by taking the mix and roll it into a ball. And then you dip it in flour. And then some egg. And then some panko, which is breadcrumb. And then you can start frying it. But because my pan is a little bit wide, so I couldn't submerge it all in oil, so I had to manually turn them. But if you have a pan that is deep enough, then you can just submerge everything in oil. So now I'm decorating the bento with the korokke and the tamagoyaki, which I sliced into smaller pieces. I also added some leafy greens to contrast with the warm reddish orangey tone of my bento. I added some cherry tomatoes to my bento to give it a little bit of flair. And as you can see here, you can see the effect of the rolled cheese and the ham. And I made some salad with hard-boiled egg and some tuna, and I mixed it together with Kewpie mayo, and you can see it in the video. And finally, just decorate the face with some seaweed. Ta-chan!